Hello, welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're doing well and ready for a little bit of a sort of mini flow thing. Today, it's going to be really useful if you can have something that can stabilize your hands, which will then stabilize your body, but will bring the floor up to you. So I have my cork blocks, a coffee table, or some tins of tomatoes or soup or something, right? Water bottles, just something will be very useful. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. You're just going to have to work harder. And then that's okay too. Right? Um, yeah, let's start lying down. And as always, you might need to take some time to settle on the mat to find a position that will support your body here. Whether the knees are bent or extended. And then maybe you take a few breaths, inhale through the nose. And exhale, sigh, and the breath away. A couple more. And then continue breathing however feels best. It could be in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing. If it feels really open and spacious, then great. Acknowledge that for whatever it's worth. If you notice some sticky or choppy spots along the way, also great. Excuse me, but you might try to lengthen through those parts of the breath to just smooth it out a little bit more. And we're not trying to force a deeper or slower breath. Right? You're literally doing nothing here, so you just shouldn't need a deep breath. The last few moments here. And when you feel ready, start to bring a little bit of movement back to your body. Whatever way feels best for you to wake up. It could be a little wiggle of the fingertips or toes, or a big yawn. And then draw your knees in toward your chest and take a little rock from side to side. And then pause in the center. You could stay here with one hand on each shin, or you might clasp your hands over top of your shins. That's going to deepen the compression on the front of the hips, but also get kind of a nice release for the low back. And maybe you stay here, and maybe you curl your nose toward your knees. Last option is to press your shins up to the sky, getting really deep, rounding through the spine. And then exhale, release. Shake out your legs. And then you might start to do a rock and roll up and down your spine here if that feels good for you. Shoulder blades to sit bones, to shoulder blades to sit bones. If that doesn't, then roll to one side, use your hands, press yourself up, and we'll meet on hands and knees. I'm going to get my blocks set up where I want them. All right, so knees underneath hips, toes tucked or untucked. Let's start to move through cat and cow. So inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through your collarbones. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under, round through your spine, really press the floor away from you. And then inhale into cow, exhale, round into cat. So a few more of these undulations on your own time, on your own breath. And as always, if there's any other movement that would feel good here, feel free to add a little wag of the tail from side to side, or maybe some barrel rolls through the chest. Well, you know your body better than I do, so feel free to move how you need to move. Your last few breaths here. All right. And then come back to center. Make sure your hands haven't migrated toward each other. Outer shoulder width apart or wider. Really spread your fingers wide. Tuck your toes. And on your exhale, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Here you might choose to pedal your heels out, bending one knee and then the other, really getting into the calf muscles. Or you could even wag your tail from side to side here, getting into the side body. Right? Any sort of movement that would feel good for you here, or maybe you choose to be still for a few breaths. Wherever you are, can you press the floor away from you with your hands a little bit more? Hug your upper arm bones toward each other. And then bend your knees, look forward, exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. If you'd like more support today, you could rest your elbows on your knees or your thighs. You might clasp opposite elbows with hands to get more traction through your spine, or maybe you have blocks, so you could just gently rest your hands on them. And again, bringing the floor up to you. You could be still here. You could sway a little bit from side to side. Notice what your knees are doing though. Make sure they're not knocking, they're not caving in ever so slightly. Can you track them out towards the baby toe edges of your feet? And last breath here. All right. If your arms are bound, release them and then bring your fingertips to your shins or maybe even your thighs. Inhale, a little partway lift, belly bend to spine, back the knees, micro bend. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. Back the next day as long as you lift up. Right, look down, not forward. And then bend your knees, tuck your chin into your chest, slow as you can. Start to roll up to standing. Right, resist the temptation to lift and look forward as you roll up. Right? Nothing to see, it's all good. We're just rolling up to standing. Keep rolling if you're rolling, otherwise if you're up, take a couple loops of your shoulders, up, back, and down. A little wiggle, noodle, or shake out. All right, and then feet hip width apart-ish. Tailbone to the earth slightly, just to feel your belly button engaged toward your spine. Right, you're not tucking the tailbone under, but a lot of us these days tend to have this little bit of lordotic spine, so the tailbone kind of lifting, so that's why we think down. Shoulder blades on the back. On your inhale, sweep your arms up to the sky, maybe follow with your gaze. Exhale, dive or fold down to the earth. Forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees. Plant your hands flat. So bend your knees enough the palms can come down to the earth, and then step back to your plank pose, top of a push-up, either from your toes or from your knees. All right, wherever you need to be. Couple breaths here. Squeeze your bum. Squeeze the tops of the thighs. Press the lower ribs up to the sky, not the hips, but the lower ribs. Press the floor away from you. And then exhale, come all the way down to the earth. You can always come down to your knees first. Little wiggle of the hips from side to side once you get there. Untuck the toes, Press the tops of the feet into the earth. Send your tailbone to the back wall. Shoulder blades onto your back. Inhale, lift the heart forward and up. Baby cobra. Exhale, lower back down. Couple more of these. This is another one of those places where you want to keep the back of the neck long. So to avoid the temptation of lifting the chin. Last breath here. All right, tuck the toes. Exhale, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. One more time through that basic sun salutation. So inhale, up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, plant your hands. Inhale, hop, step, or float back to plank. Exhale, lower all the way or partway to the earth. Inhale through baby cobra or your upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. One more breath here. And then bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. And charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. Couple breaths here. Either hands in prayer or by your side. Eyes could be closed or open. Couple breaths to feel what you feel. Notice what you notice. All right. And then flick your eyelids open if they're closed. On your inhale, sweep up to the sky. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees. A little change here. On your inhale, step your left foot back for warrior one. So keep the feet hip width apart, right? Your back heel doesn't want to line up with the front heel, right here. So you're on train tracks here rather than a tightrope. And then keep your fingers down. Start to wrap the outer left hip forward as you draw the outer right hip back. Start to supercharge the back leg towards straight. From here, maybe you come onto fingertips and de-weight the right arm, reach it forward and up. And then the left, and then drive through the front heel to come all the way up to your warrior one. Now the theory is that we've set the foundation, we've set the posture from the down up, bottom up, but if you need to reset and find a better station or a foundation, then feel free to sink into the front knee, supercharge that back leg towards straight. Squeeze the bum, squeeze the top of the thigh. And then chill out on the shrug muscles. Now you're welcome to stay here or in your next exhale. Sweep forward, bring your arms behind you. Inhale, come back up. And then exhale, fly. So a couple of these, they can be slow and steady, or they could be full of wild abandon. Maybe even feel a rebound at the bottom. Last breath. Ooh. All right, and on your next inhale, straighten through the front leg. Wrap that outer left hip forward. Exhale, swan dive forward. So we're working toward both legs straight in pyramid pose. Here is a really great place to have blocks. Now, you're going to get more space if you step the back foot up or wider from where it is. And then really keep wrapping the outer left hip forward, outer right hip back. If you're anything like me, your legs will naturally want to hyperextend here, so keep that little buoyancy on the knees. Option to stay with hands on blocks or support, or maybe you bring hands to prayer, taking into more of a strength variation. Or maybe you're folding over top of the thigh, getting the stretch. So go where you need to go last. Couple breaths here. All right. Bend into that front knee, walk your fingertips or your blocks forward a bit, and then on your inhale, start to lift the back leg up. So standing L shape or standing splits. Now the tendency is to want to open the hips up, but I want you to keep them square. So wrap the outer left hip down, spiral the inner left thigh up. So you're flexing the toes towards the floor rather than to the left. And then imagine I'm trying to pull the lifted leg back behind you. Can you resist that to maybe lift it a bit higher? Option to stay here or exhale, curl into little ball. Elbow and knees toward each other. Sorry, knees and nose toward each other. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, curl. Maybe you have hands on blocks. Maybe you don't have blocks and you're taking it into more of a warrior 3 variation. Last 2 breaths here. Whether you're in movement or in stillness. And then on your exhale, step the left foot down. Standing forward fold. Give it a little bounce or a sway. You might need to release that right leg a little bit. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold and bend your knees. Plant your hands, step back through a flow or to downward facing dog. Couple breaths to reset. And then bend your knees, look forward, exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat, standing forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Inhale to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, bring your fingertips to the earth, and on your inhale, step your right leg back now for warrior 1. Again, make sure your feet are still hip width apart, and then start to wrap the outer right hip forward as you draw the outer left hip back. Squeeze the bum on the back leg, right? Drive through the front heel of that front foot. You know what I'm saying. And then maybe de-weight the left arm, reach it forward up, and then the right, and then really drive through that front heel to come all the way up into your warrior 1. Make sure you're not rolling into the arch of the foot on that back leg. Maybe you can even de-weight the big toe on the back foot. So you're really finding the knife edge of the foot. Squeeze the bum, squeeze the top of the thigh. Right, that back leg becomes your anchor as we start to move here, if you wish. Exhale, sweep forward. Bring your arms behind you. Inhale, come back up. Couple more of those. If it feels okay for you, it's wobbly, it's shaky. Maybe you're pausing at the top. One more breath here. All right. And then inhale, straighten through your front leg. Exhale, swan dive forward. Again, working toward both legs straight in pyramid. So you might step the back foot up or wider from where it is. And then keep wrapping the outer right hip forward. Draw the outer left hip back. Spine long. So you might stay here, holding over top the front thigh. Maybe you take it into a strength variation. But a few more breaths here. And again, make sure your knees aren't hyperextending. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. All right, bend into the front knee. Walk your fingertips or your blocks forward. And then inhale, lift the back leg up, standing splits or standing L shape. Wrap the outer right hip to the floor. Spiral the inner right thigh up to the sky. Flex the toes towards the earth. Again, maybe you imagine that I'm trying to pull your leg away from you. Resist that to lift higher. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you exhale, curl into a little ball. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, curl. And lift. 2 more. Really bending that supporting knee each time you curl. And then exhale, step the right foot down, standing forward fold, little bounce or sway. Fingertips to shins, inhale, a little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. All right, couple breaths here. Eyes open or closed. Feel what you feel. Notice what you notice. And then flick your eyelids open. Shake it out a little bit. Oh boy. Bring your hands to your hips, bend your knees. Take a few hip circles one direction. And then the other. And then let's take a little twist from side to side too. And then shake out your legs. All right. Coming back to the top edge of your mat. If you've moved, I'm going to stay facing you. Take your feet outer shoulder width apart or wider. Your toes might be off the edge of your mat, turned out a little bit. And then on your inhale, sit down into squat. So Malasana, you could be here, or I feel ya, it might not be where you want to be today. So you can take your feet even wider and rest your elbows on your thighs. Otherwise, stay here with me. Wrap your shoulder blades onto your back. Can you de-weight your big toes here so that you're not rolling into the arches of the feet? That's only if your feet are flat. If your feet aren't flat and you want to try and get them down, you can. In which case, I recommend taking your feet wider and turned out a little bit more. And that'll give you a little bit more ankle mobility. Feel a little hug of the legs toward each other here, a little buoyancy, right? You're not just hanging out in the bottom, right? So if you had to stand up, you could. Last couple breaths. All right. And then bring your hands behind you and then sit down. Whew, shake out the legs. Maybe take a little windshield wiper here. That was a lot. Some days I wonder what I'm doing to you or me. But spin your legs forward. And then bring your hands behind you, fingertips pointing back. Wrap your shoulders, your elbows toward each other. Lift your heart up to the sky. Depending on how tight you're feeling these days, this might feel like enough. If you'd like to deepen it, then shift your hips forward and then wrap your elbows, your shoulder blades toward each other. You should be feeling something now in the chest, across the front of the shoulders, maybe even down your upper arms. And again, back and the next day is long. So try not to just dump open here. Like you can hear in my throat or my voice, there's something weird. So and then gently bend your elbows. Release, shake it out. And then plant your feet. You can use hands on the backs of the thighs or maybe unsupported, take Pilates style roll down to come down to the mat. If that doesn't work for you today, then just flop them back or use your hands behind you for a little bit more support. And then once you're down, hug your knees into your chest and take a little rock from side to side. All right, let's release those glutes. It really works today. Keep your knees bent, bring your feet to the floor. And then we'll move into a figure four stretch. So cross the right ankle over top of the left thigh. Keep these top toes flexed back toward your shin so that ankle's really active. This might be enough for you. If you would like to deepen it, then you could bring maybe a block underneath your left foot, or you could start to draw your legs toward you. And you could just use the muscles of your core if you want to. Maybe even rock a little bit from side to side. It gives you a little bit more of a range of motion. Maybe you choose to bind your hands or behind that left thigh. Maybe you have a strap that you can bring behind your thigh. But if clasping your hands right behind the thigh or the shin means that you have to lift your head up, don't do it. Release the head back down. And if it doesn't get there, take your arms away. And you could bring one hand to one knee, one hand to the other thigh. Breath slow and sweet. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. All right, gently unwind your legs, shake them out a little bit, and then we'll switch sides. So now the left ankle crosses over top of the right thigh. Again, keep these top toes flexed back toward your shin. You don't want to unintentionally sickle that joint, right, by pulling the leg against it. You might stay here. You might deepen it by bringing a block underneath the right foot, or maybe you draw your legs toward you. Maybe you take that little rock from side to side. Sometimes it's a nice way to find a more interesting angle for the stretch. Maybe you bind your hands behind that right thigh or use a strap. But again, we're trying to release as much tension as possible, not generate extra tension, right? By lifting the head and shoulders up off the earth. So a few more breaths wherever you need to be. And then slowly, slowly on your inhale, unwind, shake out your legs. And then let's take a quick twist to each side. So take your right arm out to the side, maybe shift your hips right, and then exhale, lower your knees to the left. So sometimes even this can feel like an outer hip stretch, depending on how tight you are. Probably you feel it more so in the low back or maybe the chest and shoulders. And as deeper, as gentle as you need it to be, but try to let it be a place of ease so that the feet rest to the floor. They don't need to hover. And then on your inhale, return to center. Reset your pelvis and your spine. And then maybe shift your hips left a little bit. Left arm goes up to the side. And then exhale, lower your knees to the right. Excuse me, again, as gentle or as deep as you need. And it can feel so different from one side to the other. So go into it with compassion. You don't need to force it. Maybe on one side you feel it more in the spine, and maybe on the other side you feel it more in the abs. Maybe you feel some clunking or clacking, and all of that is totally fine so long as it's pain-free. Last breath here. And on your inhale, return to center. Reset the pelvis and the spine, and then start to make your way into your final resting pose, which could be flat on your back, legs bent or straight in Shavasana. You could rest on your side, or child's pose, or a seated meditation. And as always, there's no rush to get there. But once you have found your pose of rest, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. 2 more. And then let go of your breath control. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension, particularly in the neck or the jaw. As you exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And thoughts may come and go. Acknowledge them without judgment, but let them go. And let them drift by you like leaves on the wind. And stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.